Welcome to our podcast. It is Two Sinners on a Sunday coming to you, and we have more tea to spill. And we're excited
Oh yeah.
because tonight we've got Evans that is going to talk about the 7 things that he learned leaving the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And of
Oh
course, it's not going to be just 7 things. He may throw in a few added things, but we thought that was a clever title. So
yeah.
that is why we're running with that. But yeah, now it's his turn to kind of let us all know what he learned in
Yeah.
leaving.
It's very
So
satisfying, isn't it? 7 things I learned leaving the
I
Seventh-day
like it.
Adventist Church. It's like,
Yes, it's fun.
because seven is a magic number when it comes to these things, especially in Seventh-day Adventism. Seven is a very important number. So
Makes
yeah,
sense. They
yeah.
named a whole religion, that
After it,
S in SDA. Yeah, it is very important. So we
very
might
true,
as well
very true,
title this episode
very true.
after the number 7.
Mm.
It is brought to you in part by the number 7. That's the Sesame Street line.
Oh
So,
right, okay. I don't know that
yeah.
either. See.
Did you grow up watching Sesame Street,
No,
Evans?
no, I didn't. I didn't.
Oh,
I don't think I watched Sesame Street. Sesame Street was not airing on national TV in Ghana when I was a kid, so
but do you
I
know what I'm
wasn't.
talking
I do
about
know
right
what you're
now?
referring
Oh,
to. Yes,
okay.
yes, yes.
Do you know what's funny? So I grew up in Italy when I was a child, and so we didn't have Sesame Street.
Oh,
And my American grandma, she would tape on VHS the episodes and things like that, and she would send them
oh, that's
overseas.
so
And so,
cool.
yeah, so I did have exposure to like a lot of children programming that
Yeah,
she
that
that
is
she
really
sent over
cool.
that she felt was very important, I guess. And so,
That's
yeah,
really
but
cool.
I'm
That's a
I'm
cool
so
grandma.
sorry that you did not have a fully
Hey, I
um
had other things. Okay, I had
yes.
other things. Okay,
You
don't
had
get me
your
started.
Bible
I had my
videos.
Bible
You
movies to watch. I didn't care
yes,
about
you
Sesame
had
Street. It
I
even
know.
wouldn't matter if they aired it, because I wouldn't watch it.
Exactly. You wouldn't have watched it. You were busy watching yours.
I was busy
Oh,
watching
that's
King
funny.
David,
King David, yes.
trying to lure Bathsheba into his bed as a kid, right?
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
as a kid
Oh
trying to
yeah,
process
right.
that, that's
Exactly.
something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You,
Yeah.
you if you were like me, you weren't allowed to watch Friends, but you could
Yeah.
watch
I could watch
you
Samson struggling that lion. I
yeah,
could do that.
exactly. You could do that. That's
Oh
awesome.
yeah. Oh yeah. I can watch violence. I can watch adultery. I can watch,
Wow.
sex. I can
Mm.
watch all of those as long as it's in the context of the Bible. I can watch anything.
Yeah. That makes
Yeah,
a lot of
I can watch
a lot of
incest
sense.
and everything else. Yep, I can watch all of it. Yep, yep, it's great.
The raping of the angels
Right?
when
Right. Mm-hmm. All
sorry,
all
yeah.
all the
No.
juicy things. Yeah,
Yeah.
that children need to know, right? Yeah, I can
Yes.
watch all of it.
Well, one of the lines from Sesame Street is they always say, brought to you in part by the letter, and it's like the letter of the day and the
Ah,
number this. So today is the number 7.
cool.
Go for it, Evans.
The first one is obviously everyone's favorite, the loss of community.
Yeah.
Or not so favorite, right?
Right.
The loss.
It's just the reality.
Right.
It's just
The reality. That's the
yeah.
first one. And as you said in the previous episode, when you're given these already prepared communities that you don't
Yeah.
have to work for, it's just
Hmm.
given to you under the name of, love and community and belonging, right? You don't have to think, you don't have to do much. They are just given to you and you just have to go along with it. That sucks sometimes when you leave,
Yeah.
the organization because you don't have the already prepared people that you can just reach out to when you're in trouble, when you need a shoulder to cry on. In my situation, I lost that, but then I also realized that I lost the idea of what a community was
Mm.
because I realized I never had it in the first place.
Mm.
I never had a group of people that knew me for who I was, that cared about me for who I was. I tried to form some meaningful friendships within the church. And when I say the church, I'm talking about referring to my local church specifically. Never really fitted in. I struggled to fit in. And now, granted, I may have also participated in the same drum, in the same kind of behavior in terms of not seeing people for who they are, not really getting to know people beyond church, right? I may have
Hmm.
participated in the very same machine, but that is being the product of the machine that is termed as community
Mm.
when these structured organizations provide to people and say, we give you a sense of belonging and we give you community, is realizing I never had it in the first place.
Mhm.
What I had was a caricature form of what I wish a community was. And I noticed a lot of drama more and a lot of bickering and arguments and people having issues with people when cheating on their wives and children being abused by their parents and all of those things. And those things were happening more, but they were being hidden. And the surface level that you see, that is the whole theme of we are loving, we are approachable, we are this loving community, where for the most part, just acting,
Mhm.
it was all just an act. People come in with
Yeah.
their best clothes, with their shoes, knowing that they themselves don't want to wear these shoes.
Yeah.
But because I everyone will be wearing these shoes, then I have to wear these shoes because what are they going to say? I had a lot of experience being criticized the kind of clothes I was wearing by my parents,
Mhm.
because they didn't think that it was varied enough because I wore it like 2 weeks ago. Oh, you wore this shirt 2 weeks ago. Why are you wearing it, 2 weeks later? Because I washed it and I'm wearing it again. That's how clothes work. But it's going to be noticed by your family and also by the church as a whole that you're doing that because you are not allowed to be yourself. You are only allowed to perform this act that we are a loving family. We are happy. We're good. We are this, and when I say family, I'm referring to the church as a whole, right?
Mhm.
And that was something that I was wholly uninterested in. The more I grew and the more I started to learn and the more I started to realize certain things, I started to realize that I don't want this. This is not what I want. So that hence why in the previous episodes I started moving, to other churches, right? To
Mhm.
find those things. And I always struggled because I never really found it. Now I found some good friendships along the way. That is like an exception to the rule. But majority of the time people are going there comparing clothes, trying to look good. You have people fighting in the car, couples fighting in the car, they get out and they have to hold hands smiling, keeping up the
Yeah.
appearances, keeping up with the Joneses,
Yeah.
keeping up the appearances, buying the cars that they need to buy to impress other people, wearing clothes to impress people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, and realizing that I never really had that community. Here is an extra point, a second point following the community aspect, and that is the church as the organization in Seventh-day Adventism is more important than the family for the most part.
Okay.
And I'm
Interesting.
speaking this from my experience that people have prioritized the church over their own families. And I'm speaking
Yeah.
this in reference to my own father, who at one point in time, I complained and I said, I am ill today. I don't feel like going to church. And that was seen as an affront to his ego. That was seen as an affront
Mm.
to the church. That was seen as something that as rebellion, rather than seen as your child crying for help, your child crying for attention from their father. That was not what that was. The father left me at home and went for church, came back home, threw in a slew of verbal abuse on me because I refused to go to church. That is what it is. It's not only highly demanding, it separates families. It gives you
Yeah.
that ultimatum to either comply or be seen as a rebellious person. Realizing how not only did it not give me the community that it claims to have given, it also
Mhm.
actually affects your own family community as well when you're not
Mm.
willing to comply with what the bigger system is demanding. Anyway, so that's the first one, is one, losing a sense of community that I thought I had only to realize that I never had it in the first place.
Yeah.
And now I'm building my
Mhm.
own genuine community through organizations like RFR and through my own little ways that I'm doing it, right? And meeting people
Yeah.
like you, Ali. That's a win in my books, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's an awakening because you realize that what you were given was actually counterfeit. It wasn't what you thought community was. And now the beauty is that now you can define it and you know what it's supposed to look like. And now you get to create your own. And it's a little bit harder,
Oh yeah.
but at least they're genuine.
Yes, it's harder because you actually have to work on
Yeah.
the code skills. You actually have
Yeah.
to start from scratch making
Yeah.
friends. They are not already given to you. Like you mentioned last
Correct.
week about the
Hmm.
wards
That's
and
right.
the steak, right? If I remember
Hmm.
correctly, right? Hey,
Good job.
I'm
Yeah.
doing well. There we
You
go. There we
learned
go. I
something. Good
learned something
job.
last week. There we go.
Yeah.
So yeah, of course that is harder, especially if you were
Yeah.
not given the skills as a functioning adult. Of course that's
Hmm.
harder, right? That's
Hmm.
not so, but it's meant to be that way because it's worth it. It's worth
Yeah.
having those genuine connections because you will not find them
Correct.
anywhere else. It's not something that can be given to you. It's something that you have to earn.
That's right.
Right.
I also wanted just to touch on the point that you were making about the church is what gets the most amount of protection rather
Mm,
than the family unit.
mhm,
And I just have seen that many, many times, unfortunately, in Mormonism, where when one partner left the faith, the relationship falls apart.
mhm.
Some couples can get out together, some can
Yeah.
make it work as a mixed faith marriage, but many, unfortunately, it just breaks apart the family
Very true.
unit in the name of the religion. That's really sad. I wish the messaging was, hey, if one of you falls away, it's okay. There's a path for that relationship, but the partner that is still the believing partner really struggles because the church is basically labeling the non-believing partner as not following the commandments, not holding up their end of the bargain, breaking the contract, and it has caused a lot of relationships to break in half. And so it's very, very sad when I've seen religion be the last straw or
Mm,
the catalyst
very true.
for a separation
Very
or a
true.
divorce. And it
Mm.
breaks families apart when you are made to think that it's religion over family.
Yeah, and it gets to that, and it gets darker when they start using spicy language, like this person has been taken over by the devil, and this
Mm,
person is now has now given up on God and has embraced darkness. Then so it goes from this person is rebellious, this person is not going according to the church ordinances and what have you, to
hmm.
this person is, the dark side. This person is
Yeah,
evil. This person is bad. Like that's the
yeah,
language they start to use. And that is not how a community behaves when one of their members leave. Especially
yeah,
when their member leaves and they don't make any effort to reach
yeah,
out. When they don't make any
yeah.
effort to see what is happening. When they don't make any effort to understand the person,
Hmm.
they would rather hold on to tension and drama than
Mm,
to have clarity and understanding. That is not something I am interested in. So it is one thing that I took away from it, and that is it's okay to find the community that suits you, and you don't have to stay in a community that is toxic to you. You don't have
correct.
to. And that is one thing I learned. Number two is a huge one, which was the loss of ego and self trust when I left the faith.
Okay.
Yeah, because as a Seventh-day Adventist, you pride yourself with knowing the truth, knowing what is out there, knowing certain things. You are very confident. You're very pompous. You're very, very all-knowing ish.
Hmm.
You
Okay.
know stuff, and you know that the rest of the world has been deceived religiously. Their theology is kind of incomplete without yours. You have the real complete truth. And you
Okay.
hear people talk about their faith and about Jesus, and I'm always walking around like, no, they're wrong. I know stuff. You don't. Behaviors like that. It was kind of instilled in me with the assurance of being the last group of people, that the last generation of people that have God's true message to people before the judgment day. That gives you, that boosts up your ego, and also
Yeah.
gives you that confidence that you know what you're talking about. You're in the right community, you're in the right place at the right time, you were born in the right family, in the right country. Like everything just worked out well for you, and you're just special.
Mhm. The
So
chosen
the
generation.
chosen generation. Oh, we had a name for it, the remnant church.
Okay, we had the chosen generation.
See, remnant church versus chosen generation. Here we go. So that's it. And the remnant church, every time I heard that, I would get like chills. It was something that was very special and important to me. Well, it's supposed to make you feel that way, right? And finding out that not only could Seventh-day Adventism not be the truth, at least in the most part, as it is bragged to be. But Christianity as a whole doesn't have a lot of leg to stand on when it comes to reality. That was a huge shock to my system. And
Mm-hmm.
that took me to a very dark place because I didn't know what to trust now. Here was I thinking, I've done the research, I've done the reading, I've done the praying,
Mm-hmm.
I've done all that. I know
Mm-hmm.
this. What do you mean this wasn't true? I pray to Jesus all the time. That discovery was a shock to my system, to my ego. It shut everything
Mm-hmm.
down. I started to realize that not only did I buy into some very hardcore conspiracy theories, I couldn't trust my own epistemology. That is how I come to know things. I couldn't trust it because how did I come to know it in the first place to be so confident in it? I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't trust that. So self trust and ego was shot. There was a massive hole in it. So that took me to a dark place. Which whether that was a good thing or a bad thing, it needed to happen anyway so that I could reconstruct myself.
Yeah,
So that was the second thing that I lost. So in a way, it's kind of like a bittersweet situation here.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think though that a lot of people, that rattling is a
Mm.
lot. I've heard stories of other people that just get lost in the chaos.
Yeah.
It's just a lot to grapple with, and that dark night of the soul is very scary for them. And
And
because it's a loss of identity, it's a loss of,
yes.
like you said, it's not all of a sudden you have to start questioning, how did I come to accept this as truth, and now I'm realizing that it's not, and who else is lying to me, what do I
Right.
believe in?
Right.
And so there's all of that, and you spiral. And I this is why I'm often saying that I wouldn't wish it on anybody.
No.
A loss of faith, I just wouldn't wish it on anybody, because it is free falling and it can be very
Yeah.
scary at times. And if you
It
have
is.
a good support system or can have access to one, then it's easier. But even for me, I did it all by myself,
Mm.
and
Mm.
I got through it
Mm-hmm.
and was able to rebuild after it. But I look back and I just wouldn't wish it on anybody, because it was probably one of the most uncomfortable experiences of my life, because
Right.
everything that you've ever been taught and believed in, when it all, crumbles to pieces, you're really left questioning everything.
Yes. Yes.
So,
Like you're left questioning your primary caregivers, your parents, right? You're
hmm,
questioning everyone around you. You're
sure.
questioning your own mind.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
in Seventh-day Adventism, there are so many things to know. So when you are able to build yourself up to a point where you know a lot about it, it becomes your life at some point. The sanctuary message, the investigative judgment, the health message, the Ellen White's writings, which was, Our Lady, our prophetess, right? A message to the young people, the great controversy, spirit of prophecy, all the chapters in them. Like there are certain things that you know so much of.
Yeah.
When it's shot with a massive hole in it,
Yeah.
that world disorienting. And
Yeah.
like you said, I
Hmm.
wouldn't wish it on anybody, but it was a necessary evil
Yep.
to go through.
Hmm.
You know, it's
That's right.
it's kind of like going through like heavy weight loss session. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, the outcome could be healthy, but it's a very painful process that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy.
Yeah.
So it's like, huh.
Well, yeah, like a
Hmm.
phoenix rising from the ashes, you
Right.
have to, it is worth it, and
Yeah.
it can be, but it's touch and go there at certain intervals of that process. But if
Mhm.
you can get through it, yeah, you rise from those ashes, but it's horrible going through those,
At that
going
moment.
through that fire. Yeah,
Yes, at that moment, yeah.
exactly.
So those are the losses, and obviously with the community, as I said, just going
Hmm.
back to that one is the default one: loss of friends and
Yeah.
potential friends, potential relationships, right?
Hmm.
And as I've touched on before in the previous episodes about like what kind of relationships that you could have romantically, platonically, and just seeing all of that just fade into the darkness. But then at the same time, it's also realizing that it's like, it never would have been genuine anyway. So,
Yeah.
okay, so number three, we're gonna go to the gains. Let's do it. Hey,
Yay.
so this is what is happening now. since I've
All
left
right.
Seventh-day Adventism and I've left Christianity. And the first thing is personal time back. Oh, you
Okay.
have absolutely no idea how amazing that feels to wake up on a Saturday morning knowing you don't have to go anywhere, any damn where. Okay, like you can sleep, and you can wake
Yeah.
up at 6 a.m. and go for a jog, and you can stay outside as long as you want, and go out there and feel the grass, be nice to people, do your thing, come back home and feel good. Have breakfast when you want, have lunch when you want, be a person. Woo, that's amazing. I remember my first Saturday that I didn't go to church. Yeah, the first
What was
Saturday
that
that I didn't go
like?
to church. I had moved out at that time,
Okay.
and I woke up with such peace
Wow.
and happiness. And
Yeah.
I just couldn't stop smiling because it was quiet and
Yeah.
there was no anxiety. And I started to
Yeah.
realize how much anxiety I used to have starting from Friday evening, because there was always something that I had to contend with
Yeah.
every time.
Yeah.
There was always something. And letting all of that just go.
Melt away. I had the
Just,
same thing for
yeah.
me. It would start off because we went to church on Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
It would start as early as Saturday morning. But for me,
Mm.
it wouldn't disappear until like Tuesday morning.
Oh,
Like
wow.
that build up,
Oh,
then you go to it and then you come out of it. And it was like a whole 3 day
wow.
stress.
Yeah.
And I remember that anxiety so well. It's so funny. I haven't thought of it in so long because
Yeah.
it's no longer part of my life anymore. So,
Right?
but yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. And it's in the ex-Mormon community because we celebrate on, or whatever, not celebrate, but we attend on Sundays. Now we call that second Saturday. So ironically
Mm.
for you, you
Okay.
actually just get first Saturday.
Yes.
So yours is like first Saturday. So for me, it's like I have Saturday, but then I get second Saturday.
Oh,
And
okay.
what's nice is like, yeah, I get another day to just hang out with my kids
Mm-hmm.
or get other things done. I actually get a full weekend instead of
Yes.
cramming everything in on Saturday. We
Right.
actually even had a song that was taught to the little children in the children's group, and it went like, Saturday is a special day. It's a day we get ready for Sunday. And it was all
Yeesh.
about,
Oh
I
my
know,
God.
I have
That
an amazing
sounds.
voice.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. No,
Just
it's not your
kidding.
voice. It's just the lyrics. Just sounds
Yeah.
very, very happy.
It is. Yeah. No, no, no. We were getting those children happy and excited about how we
Oh,
brush our hair and we, lay out our clothes and we
okay.
all are doing it because we're so excited that tomorrow we get to go to church.
Yeah.
And
Isn't it
so
funny?
it's a
Just a
whole
side
thing.
point. Isn't it funny that a lot of children's songs had "I am happy" as a lyric written into it? It's so funny. It's so
Well, but they
strange.
wouldn't know that they were happy if somebody
Right.
wasn't telling them that they were
Yes.
happy.
You have to sing. I am so happy, so very happy. Da da
I'm so
da 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 da
happy.
da 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 da. Right? Like you had it's written in the lyric. It's like, why do I have to sing that I'm happy? If I'm happy, I don't need to
Yeah,
say it. I
right.
just be happy, right? Anyway,
Well,
sorry.
in
Yeah, go
in the
on.
Mormon faith, we also have one Sunday a month that during the main congregation hour, it's what's called testimony meeting. And
Mm.
the whole purpose of that is confirmation bias. If you
Wow.
can walk up to the stand and share your testimony
Oh yeah.
with the congregation, then
Hmm.
you could be like, brother so and so or sister so and so is going through such a hard time, but look at how strong they are and look at how
Yes, we
they
had that
are
too.
bearing
Yep.
their testimony about their faith and their
Yep.
journey. And like, yeah, then that means that I can do it too. And then I
Yes.
can feel strong in the church. And it trickles down all the way to the children. If we're
Yep.
writing children's songs that make them feel like, hey, I'm doing the right thing,
Hmm.
I am following. Basically, they're just saying that I'm conforming, I'm doing
Hmm.
what I'm told, I'm
Hmm.
happy that I'm obedient, I'm happy that I
Right.
checking all the boxes,
Hmm.
and I'm ready to go to church on Sunday. And Saturday is a day where I focus on that. Yeah, that's how
Yeah. Yeah,
how it all
it's
worked.
in my community and in my culture, it's a whole spectacle because there are particular clothes that you have to wear. There are colors of clothes, which is preferably white because obviously white means good, right?
Hmm.
So that's how it's understood in my culture and
Yeah.
also in Christianity. White means pure, good, and black means obviously sad, bad, right? So you wear white, you gather your family. The main speaker of the testimony will be whoever is experiencing that situation, and then they come in and talk, and you know they're exaggerating.
Mm.
You know, like I've experienced this personally too, and people will be standing there. Even sometimes it's so much of a spectacle that sometimes even the people in the congregation know that this person is making stuff up. It just makes people laugh and make people feel good about themselves, but there's so much exaggeration in there. None of this is necessary if it's true.
Yeah.
None of that is necessary if it's true.
No.
Right. That's
Yeah.
so. Like I said, gain personal time back. Time to think. Time to
Hmm.
learn. Time to rest. Time to indulge in new hobbies, which I was able to create. So many things. I was able to, start to learn, pick up an instrument, start to learn it. I'm still learning. I haven't touched it for like a year, but I'm still learning. Hey,
What
hey,
instrument?
the guitar. I'm
Oh,
learning the guitar. I've learned the basics. I've learned the basics. I can play a few
that's
chords here and
cool.
there. I can play a few chords here and there. But don't call me
Yeah.
up on it though. Don't call me
But
up on it.
you now can work on self-development and,
Yeah.
give yourself, yeah,
Oh
that's
yeah.
very cool.
It's a
Yeah.
it's a big deal. It's a big deal to me. And
Yeah.
even the idea of self development was not in my mind when I was in the religion. By the way, my reasons and the things that I've learned living in this religion, it doesn't mean that every single person in this religion is lacking or is going through any of these things, right? This is my personal
Yes.
experience, how I went through it and
Hmm.
how I left it and the things that I gained when I left. Now, there could be perfectly someone in the religion who has all of these great qualities already. Great for them. I hope they go to heaven one day. Have a great life, you know.
Of course.
Yeah.
You can
So
speak to your
this is
story,
this
and
is
that's
this is my
all that
experience.
this is, of
That's all.
course. Your
Exactly.
experience. Yeah.
Exactly.
What's
That's
number 4?
number 4. There we go. Number 4 is gain a healthier mindset. Hey, that was
Okay.
yeah, gain a healthier mindset about myself, gain a healthier mindset
Okay.
about people. I became extremely less judgmental.
Right. I love that one.
Yeah, like I
That
was
one was my favorite.
so judgmental when I was really.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, you had no idea. I was just judgmental as a Christian, and I
Yeah.
was double time judgmental as a Seventh-day Adventist because as a Seventh-day Adventist, you've already judged all of
Yes.
Christianity as wrong.
Yes.
You've already done the basic judging, right? Right. So
Yeah.
it's like double time
Mhm.
and losing all of that, just that all of that baggage I had about people that I didn't know,
Yeah.
and just to treat people by their own merit,
Yeah.
and just to identify when someone is healthy within my boundaries.
Hmm.
Like things like setting boundaries for one is one thing, but anyway, gain a healthier mindset about myself,
Yeah.
my place in the world,
Yeah.
what the universe is,
Yeah.
and how I fit in it, what family is and how I fit in it, what community
Hmm.
is and how I fit in it, what does it mean to be healthy. And I learned how to develop a healthy mindset without the guilt, without the shame,
Yeah.
without the
Yes.
leaving all of the heavy lifting to some being that is not you. Right. And that is saying,
Yeah.
oh, wait, no, no. Hey, remember last time you went through this day that you thought it was the worst day of your life?
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. See, there will always be the worst day of your life somewhere, and you
Hmm.
will overcome it just like you did the last time you thought that was the worst day of your life. You're still here. You will always have the worst day of your life that will not be as worse as the one that is currently the worst day of your life right now.
Sure.
You will always
Sure.
overcome it, right? And that is some having the mindset to say, I'm just the average adult. Some days are great,
Yeah.
some days are bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes I procrastinate, sometimes I
Yeah.
achieve some goals, and it's okay.
I love that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Every now and then I'll pose a question that will kind of bring out all the mental gymnastics that Christians do.
Hmm.
And sometimes they want to like pin me down on my beliefs and want me to prove my belief system, and just having no need to do that,
Yeah.
to say
I've
I don't need to prove anything to you.
My children, when they go to school, I've had a couple of them because, we consider ourselves agnostic, me and my children.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah. And so sometimes they get confronted by other children who
Oh,
say to them, well, prove that God doesn't exist, prove it. And I've always told them that the right response is that the burden of proof is not on the person making
wow.
it's on the person making the grand claim.
You're teaching your children
So
that? That is great.
of
That's
course I
awesome.
am. Of course I
Wow.
am. I want them to be able to say that I'm not making this claim of a supernatural being. So if you believe in it, that's wonderful. Don't harass me for not believing in that. Don't bully me for not sharing in that because
Yeah.
you need to prove it if you're going to make that claim. So,
Yeah.
yes, of course, I teach them that because I want them to be able to know that other people have their beliefs and they are entitled to them. And if it makes them better people, by all means, I
Mhm.
think that's wonderful. But those same people shouldn't be attacking others who maybe don't share that. Because here's the truth, the way the world has changed, we're not all the same religion anymore. Our street alone
Right.
has multiple people believing all kinds of different things. And if we're going to be harassing one another because somebody needs to prove it, well, that most of them aren't claims that can be backed up, their feelings or their
Exactly.
ideologies. And at the end of the day, my kids shouldn't be, tackled for that. And so
Yeah.
I always say the burden of proof is on the person making the extraordinary claim.
There we
And
go. That
that's,
that is such a
yeah,
you're teaching them engaging in Socratic method of having conversations with people with, complex ideologies. That is really cool because this is how invasive religion can
yeah,
be when you have children having
yeah,
these conversations, when children have to be running around screaming at each other, trying not to tear their head off their neck, right? That's what children are meant to be doing, climbing the walls, pretending to be Spider-Man, trying not to trying to jump off the wall, pretending to be Superman. That's what kids do. But for kids to be saying, "Oh, prove this and prove that," it's so invasive. But that's what religion
yeah,
does. Like
yeah, yeah,
everywhere religion goes, it brings division, it brings hostility, it brings
hmm,
tension, it brings
absolutely.
because this is the thing that people that are religious need to realize. Everywhere religion finds itself, there will be someone who will doubt it.
Yeah,
Everywhere it goes, there will be someone who will doubt it. And
yeah,
that's the thing, is like just the phenomenon of religion just by itself brings division. It
yeah,
just does, because
absolutely.
you go into a community that doesn't have it, and
Hmm.
then you go in there and then you make a bunch of claims, and then some people say that's true, and then some people say, I don't believe it. And then
Yeah,
what you can do, if you have a majority number of people that believe it, to say, the people that say they don't believe it, they are the reason why your problems are here.
yeah,
Whoa. And then all of a sudden we have witch trials, we have, witch hunting and stuff like that. So it's like
yeah,
everywhere religion finds itself, there will be a doubter, and they should get comfortable with it. Christianity is not so comfortable with doubters. They do name
hmm,
callings and smear campaigns and quiet shunning. That's not how truth behaves.
hmm.
We know
No,
that. If imagine if
yeah,
science behaved like that. Imagine if science behaved like,
absolutely.
oh, if you don't agree
Yeah,
with me, I'm going to just quietly shun you, and I'm going to create smear campaigns about you because you don't agree with
yeah,
me. That's just not how truth behaves, and we know
yeah.
this. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think I remember watching Ricky Gervais, the comedian,
Mm-hmm.
explain it, contrasting it to science, where if we took all the science books and lit them on fire, and we took all the works of religion and lit them on fire, in 100 years from now, all those books on science would exist again,
Oh yeah.
almost exactly the way that they were written before they
Yep.
were destroyed. But that can't be said for religion
Yep.
because we're constantly inventing and recreating, and
Yep.
they never look the same and they're evolving. And
Yeah.
like we said, Christianity is not of values, it's of
It's
relevance,
of
and
relevance.
it
Yeah.
will change to fit its time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. The only thing that would change with science when you have to write it all over again, when you burn all the books, the only thing that would change with science is the name of the authors and the letters that are used to represent the variables. Like
yeah,
that's the only thing that would change. Like
sure,
maybe, you know,
sure.
Newton's law would have different letters or different
Characters.
symbols or
Yeah.
characters to represent them. That's the only thing that would change. But the phenomenon of gravity will always be there. Like you said, Jesus, if we burn the whole Bible from the world and people try to rewrite the Bible, even in this current generation, if people try to rewrite the Bible, it would look completely different. So
Yes.
that's just
1000%.
exactly. Number five, gained understanding of what food is. Now, I know this is very weird and very strange. In Seventh-day Adventism, we have something called a health message, which is tied into what it means to be a Seventh-day Adventist. It recommends vegetarianism as the right way to go. And
Ooh,
if
I can get behind this. I told
yes,
you I was a
sure.
vegetarian.
Hey, look, you
All
can be a
right.
70 Adventist. I'll give you all the certificates and the badges. I will buy your uniform. You can sign right up.
All right.
It claims vegetarianism to be the right way, not only to be healthy, to please God. So it's not only tied into a care for your health, it's tied into your salvation as well.
Whoa.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, oh
Wow.
yeah, because you don't eat unclean meat, right? That's meat that's been pronounced as clean. Seventh Adventism are very strict with the kind of diet they engage themselves in for very strange reasons. You don't eat animals whose hooves have not been split in two, right? So like you have pork's hooves have not been split in two, but you have other animals like, you know, the cow whose hooves have been split in two. You cannot eat an amphibian. You don't eat amphibians, and you cannot eat fish that does not have scales on them. So Seventh-day Adventists, most of them don't eat salmon or other type of seafood. Oh, that's the name I'm looking for. Seafood. I was like aquatic animals. No, seafood. So right, I'm like aquatic animals. I'm like, what am I saying? That's
Well,
not a word.
it
That's not a
sounded really
word.
technical and professional.
Right,
I didn't know.
right.
I
Yeah.
think that
That's no. I
they technically are aquatic animals. I don't think you're
yeah.
wrong,
But
Evans.
I am not that professional, so I don't know why I'm sounding that
You're
way.
just above us. You're just so
I don't know why
high
I'm sounding like
above
that.
us.
I knew something was wrong with it. I was like, no, that's not me.
You're
That's
like,
not.
it's coming out of my mouth, but it
It
doesn't
just
sound right.
right. It doesn't
Something,
sound like
it's,
me.
yeah, that's not,
I never
all
say
right.
aquatic animals. I've never said that. I've never said those two words together ever. Um,
Well, I think we have a sound bite.
there we go.
So I
Aquatic
think we're
animals.
gonna have Evan say aquatic animals over and over again. So thank you for that.
Oh man. So
You're good.
yeah. Anyway, so you're very restricted to only redfish. So redfish is a fish that has scales that doesn't eat anything that is kind of poisonous or anything like that. So salmon, crab, lobster, squid, all of those fun stuff that the rest of the world, the rest of the heathens eat, you shall not eat. Right, exactly.
Mm.
You shall not eat. And that's what we go by. We go by strictly what the diet that was prescribed in the Old Testament for the Jews. That's what we went by strictly. And there is some discrepancies within the church as to whether they are under grace or under the law. And if they're under grace, then what's the problem with, you know, drinking? What's the problem with all of these things? As I'm talking about having a healthy mindset or understanding what food is also what anything of consumption is, right? So coffee, Coca-Cola, alcohol. What are these things? Because I never really had a good, healthy understanding of what alcohol was. I just knew that it was bad and it was
Mm.
evil and it makes you do bad and evil things. I didn't really have a healthy approach to alcohol. Again, this is not to say that other 70 Adventists are just as heathenish as I am who have no problem with alcohol now, right now. That's not to say that. But that's church doctrine. You know, you're not supposed to drink, you're not supposed to get drunk, you're not supposed to take drugs, you're not supposed to, you know, Coca-Cola, anything caffeinated, you're supposed to stay away from it. And then when it comes to food, preferably vegetarian. And if you're going to eat meat, chicken and fish. So leaving all of those restrictions behind gave me a new approach to food and realizing what food actually is, why we eat food, understanding why food is necessary for me, why my taste buds work according to my culture, how I grew up. Why do I taste like this taste? Why don't I eat this food? So it made me very curious as to how other food tastes like other than what I only cook, because I only ate what I cooked because I was only cooking one or two traditional meals. So I kind of gained a continental approach to food, and
Mm.
trying things that works for me and deciding what is good, why they're bad for me, what is this healthy oxidants intake and healthy calories intake and stuff like just learning about food that goes into my system was something that I gained, and I no longer had restrictiveness as to not being able to eat anything that is not prescribed by the religion, but choosing to indulge in moderate amounts just to see what the experience is like, just to learn. Now I know it's not something that a lot of types of Christianity can relate to, but this is very specific to Seventh-day Adventism. That was number five. Um,
May I comment on it
of
for just a
course.
moment? So in Mormonism, we have what's called the Word of Wisdom, which
Ah.
is also our food and dietary guidelines.
Mm,
And as part of that, we're not allowed to have coffee.
mm.
We're not allowed to have alcohol. The beasts of the fields should
Yeah.
be used sparingly
Hmm.
and should be eaten sparingly. Yes, the grains and the fruits and vegetables are okay. And there's just a lot of restrictions as far as like what we eat and what we partake in. The irony is that because coffee is not allowed, we are a bit lax when it comes to caffeine. So like caffeine is allowed, but coffee is not. And it kind of depends
Oh.
generation from generation. So like my
Okay.
generation, caffeine was more frowned upon. But now you go to Utah and there's little like cafe shops that are even drive-through, where you can get a super sugary caffeinated drink, and
Wow.
it is so much worse for you than a cup of coffee in the
That's so
morning. And
interesting.
we have very much an obesity problem in the United States, but even in the Mormon faith, we become addicted to sugar. And then it's funny because a lot of people don't seem to have as much of a problem with eating a lot of red meat. It should be used, in times of winter
Mm.
and in those time periods. But no, we love our barbecues and we indulge and eat a great deal of meat, but coffee is not okay and alcohol is not okay.
Mm.
And how I approach parenting now is not so much that these things are bad for you, but just to have a healthy relationship with them. So I feel it's quite foolish to think that my children will never be presented with an opportunity to drink coffee
Mm.
or to drink alcohol. It's more of, how do you form a healthy relationship with it? Like maybe
Yes.
it's just not for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that way you
Right.
make that choice, but you make it consenting to,
Yes.
what it is you're choosing to do. Even
Yes.
with tobacco products, that's not allowed.
Yeah.
And I think that it's more empowering to my children, and it
Mm-hmm.
would have been more empowering to me if
Mm-hmm.
I had made that decision, if I
Yes.
knew. But with that also came, and hopefully comes to my children, a new way of looking at people. Because if our
Yes.
neighbor chooses to have a party and there are cocktails there, that doesn't make them a
There
sinner.
we go. There we
It
go.
doesn't make them a
There we
bad
go.
person.
Yeah, I agree.
So
Yeah.
I want them to have a healthy relationship with these things and
Yes.
remove the judgment as well,
There we
because
go.
everybody's making the choice for themselves. And honestly, if they see somebody get drunk and be unhealthy, I want them to say, that's not for me. That's not how
Right.
I choose to, engage
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
alcohol or
Yeah.
whatever else. Or, coffee makes me too jumpy.
Mm.
And that's fine. Then you learn that through your own
Your own
experience
experience.
and
Yes.
not that that's not for you.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to give to my children. And that also goes to even their relationship with sex, because in the
Yes.
Mormon faith, there's the law of chastity.
Mm-hmm.
And with that just comes, like, I've got five growing teenage boys, for goodness sakes.
Yeah.
I want them to have a healthy understanding of their sexuality, and
Yeah.
I want them to go out into the world not thinking that this is a taboo topic. I
Yeah.
want them to be educated so that they can make sound decisions for themselves, healthy decisions for themselves, because the best form of birth control is education.
Yes.
And if you are educated and you understand, then you're going to make healthier choices. Ignorance just breeds bad choices. And I
There we
think
go.
that
Yeah.
that's just not the approach that I am taking
I
currently.
agree. And to pick up just a little bit before we move on, it's amazing how and empowering when you decide not to indulge in certain things when it comes from you and you have actual authentic reasons other than someone else told you to. It's very
Yeah.
empowering. And that's the thing because when I became non-religious, I tried drinking beer with my adult taste buds, with a taste bud that has not gotten used to drinking beer all the
Hmm.
time. And I tasted it and I was like, I don't know why people drink this. People probably hate themselves. I
No.
don't hate myself, so I don't know why I should drink beer. But then I
Hmm.
tried cider and I was like, huh, cider is kind of my
You kind of
thing.
like that
It's
one.
nice.
Yeah.
And then I tried
Yeah.
wine and I was like, okay, wine is a bit
Right.
maybe depends on the occasion. And I tried mocktails and cocktails, and I was like, I like these too. So
Yeah.
mocktail is not alcoholic, cocktail is alcoholic, and it's like they're both kind of like the same. I like these
Yeah.
things, but do I go outside if I'm shopping for my groceries? Do I buy alcohol to bring that home? No,
Hmm.
but if someone offered me in an occasion, I would drink it because the decision I made was simply because I'm free to do everything. I then can make that decision on myself to say, you know what, I kind of like having fun when I go out and also remembering stuff when I come back. So I
Exactly.
will do everything in moderation. I will drink in moderation. But if someone wants to get drunk and just fall in the gutter, you know,
Sure.
I hope you're safe, but I'm not gonna think
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
you're broken or you're a bad person because of that, right?
Right.
Obviously, there might be some underlying issues that's going on, like alcoholism and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But that's a problem. That's not a flaw, right?
Right.
That's
That's
something
right.
going
Well
on with
said.
that person, but it's not a flaw in their person, right? So that person needs help,
Well said.
right? And that's what at least Seventh-day Adventism, that's what it did,
Yeah.
is it demonizes people that indulge in these things. Even when there is the acceptance of alcoholism and problems and stuff like that, you're still seen as not quite good enough. And in a
Yeah.
way, it's your fault that this happened.
Yeah.
So that's the
Hmm.
thing. Anyway, so that's why I brought it up. Number five,
Yeah.
yes. Yes.
Now we're doing number
Number
six.
six is gaining authenticity with myself and people around me, deciding the kind of relationships I want to keep and relationships I am willing to let go, the types of communities I want to be in, and the types of people I want to be associated with me, and the types of people that I want to associate with, and realizing that it's okay to not be my friend.
Yeah.
It's that's it. That's
That's
really
okay.
okay. And if you're
Yeah.
if you're a lady and I approach you and you don't like me, that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not entitled to your attention. Of course, you don't find me attractive because you fall into the statistics of the ladies that don't find me attractive. When I meet a girl that is willing to speak to me, she falls into the statistic that finds me attractive. And that's just how nature works. Some people like it, some people don't. And that's just
Hmm.
how it is. And people love the beautiful chocolate skin that I have that is glistening and shining all the time. And some people say pass, and that is okay. So having a healthy approach to relationships, seeing
Yeah.
people as their own people,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
understanding that sometimes people just don't want to be a friend.
Yep. And
And
that's okay.
and that's their choice. They get to make that choice. They are their own
And you
person.
don't have to make it work.
And I don't have to
You
make it work.
can, yeah, you can just understand that Yeah, that it's just there's no compatibility there.
Yes, and that
Yeah.
is coming from being in a community that's been given for you, that you have to
Yeah,
be friends with them.
exactly.
You have to
Right.
be nice to them, even though they are toxic
Yeah.
for you. They don't care about you. They haven't demonstrated any form of love towards your direction. They backbite on you, using a biblical term here, backbite, right? They create smear campaigns around you when you're looking. This is one of my pet peeves that I also learned as well when I was coming, is people that agree with you all the time.
Yes, men.
Oh, yes, 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 people, right? Is that kind of makes me a bit uncomfortable. It kind of
Sure.
makes me feel as though I'm not engaging in a back and forth relationship
Yeah.
here. I'm engaging in someone who it's has an ulterior motive. Like it gives me
Hmm.
that kind of feeling to say this person kind of does not care, and that's again also fine. You do not have to care. I have just arrived at a very healthy acceptance of that, to say people are people.
Yeah.
Sometimes people just don't care, and that's
Yeah.
okay. But
Yeah.
my pet peeve is people pretending to care.
Mm.
Is that no, no, no? Like you don't have to pretend. Like I'm perfectly happy for you to not care. If you don't care, oh, I thought you cared. I'm sorry. Like conversation over. Let's talk about it. Let's talk
Yeah.
about the sun. Let's talk about the weather. Right, the UK. We always talk about the weather in the UK because it's always miserable here. Right. Let's talk about the weather. We
Hmm.
we can talk about the weather. We don't need to go deep. We don't need to go any deep if you don't care. That's fine. Getting to that point and realizing that about myself, about people, the kind of boundaries I want to set, realizing that there are certain people in my family that have not shown that they are willing to have any form of relationship, at least any form of healthy relationship with me. They are willing to have a relationship with me as long as I am down and they are up. As long as I am subservient and serving and on my knees and begging, like the good slave that I am, then as long as I'm doing those things, then they are willing to have a
Then
relationship
it's
with me.
okay.
But that's not an adult relationship.
Yeah.
That is not a normal human functioning relationship. I want functioning relationships. So I know what I want. I state what I want. And it's okay that you don't agree with me. That's
Yep.
fine too.
Yeah.
It's amazing how that feels.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you don't need to sell yourself any differently than
Nope.
how you want to be. And
Yes.
then the right people will be drawn to that,
Oh, yeah.
and you will attract who is meant to be in your life
Yes. And yeah.
versus, trying to people please or make everything fit.
Yes.
I have a little thought that I always say to myself that some people are in your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And very few
Mm,
people, I think, make it through the lifetime. And the
yeah.
ones that make it through a lifetime there are so many ups and downs and so many scars that go with that. And then,
Of course.
I look back at my time in the Mormon faith, and I know that those people were in my life for a season, and I
Yes.
honor that, and I'm grateful for that. And then there's other people that maybe also were short-lived, but they were there for a reason. And so I try to look at it that way and understand that they're just the ones that are there for a lifetime are very special, and they require a lot of work, but not everybody's meant to always be there in your life. And you can
Exactly.
still appreciate it for how long it lasts
Yeah.
and for that time.
Yeah.
So, and what you
Uh,
learned from those
yeah.
experiences.
As a gamer, sometimes you play certain games like role playing games, and there are some missions that you play solo, you do it by yourself, and then there are some
Mm,
missions where you get a partner, you get someone to do it with, and then
mm.
they help you out in a situation, and then you go on solo again. It's kind of like that moment that you share.
Okay.
They
Yeah.
help you in that moment, and then they leave, or they pass away, or something happens, but then you have to go on by yourself again. But just because you had a relationship and you're going on afterwards doesn't mean that that
Hmm.
relationship didn't mean anything. It still meant something at that time that you needed it. And now you
Hmm.
get to travel on, like you said, travelers, right?
Yeah.
I like that. Yes. So
Yeah.
so that's
Yep.
what that was. Realizing that every time I engage with people who are still in that community setting, I have to always remind them, by the way, simply because we are agreeing or we are disagreeing doesn't make you my enemy.
Yeah.
Like I found that every time I talk to them, they always have to kind of remind me that, oh, I still love you, and it's like, that was never in question. We're talking about
Right.
something completely different that has nothing to do with our relationship. Why do you feel
Yeah.
the need to affirm our relationship status right now
Yeah.
why do you feel the need to say, "Oh, you're still my friend, though"? Whoa, that was never in question,
Yeah.
but to them it was
Mm-hmm.
in question because you
Mm-hmm.
are in disagreement, and that means disagreement
Yeah.
means enemy. So
Yeah.
they have to remind themselves to say, "Oh no, you're not enemy. I love you, but
Yeah.
we are doing the enemy thing right now, which is disagreement, right?" And being at a place realizing that no, disagreement is actually a very healthy form, a healthy catalyst in a relationship
I
to work
agree.
out the friction that's going on, to work out the tension and resolve the tension that's
I
going on, and
agree.
agree to disagree on certain things that are helpful. Obviously, I will never agree to disagree that it's okay to abuse a child. That
Of
is not agree
course.
to
Yeah.
disagree. Like abusing me is not up for debate. Me abusing
Right.
you is not up for
Yeah.
debate, right? None of
Right.
those things are up for debate.
No, 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 no. But
Exactly.
my goodness, I could tell you stories of people that run from conflict
Oh yeah.
and how the ones that are able to work through the conflict,
Hmm.
our relationship has grown. Our relationship
Surprise,
is actually,
surprise.
yeah, it was probably rocky for a little bit as we went through it,
Yeah.
but because neither one of us gave up,
Hmm.
we made it through and it's actually more solid. Oh my goodness, the stories I could tell you of people that ran for the hills,
Yeah.
at the first sign of conflict, and they're just not capable.
Yeah.
And they look at it as like, oh,
This is bad.
conflict is bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are we doing here? Like, this isn't okay. Like, we shouldn't be having conflict. This is a red flag. And it's like,
Yes.
no, the red flag is when you run, and the
Yes.
green flag is when you stay and you work it out and you
Yeah.
show empathy for the other person and you meet them where they're at
Hmm.
and you try to understand. Maybe that takes a while.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
maybe it takes a few tries until you get it right. It's not, I mean, this is what I teach my kids every single day. They're constantly arguing and
Mm.
fighting. And if we just give up right away, what kind of a family would we be?
Yeah.
And so it's trying to understand another person's perspective and then building off of that. And if you really truly care about the other person's perspective, you would want to engage in the fight and you would
Yes.
want to try
Yes.
to work with them and try
Yeah.
to come to a happy conclusion. We are all so different.
Mm.
We're not going to see eye to eye on every issue. And how we are treating each other may feel okay to you, but maybe it's not being received in that way. And the only way that you can
Exactly.
care about the other person is if you hear them and you give space to them
Very
and
true.
you see them for what they are and what they're asking for. My goodness,
Yeah.
the hills people run
Oh yeah,
to,
they run. Yeah, and
they
it's
run.
funny because Christianity as a whole doesn't arm people with conflict management.
No.
It doesn't. It doesn't
Yeah.
arm them with healthy conflict management. It doesn't.
Right.
Yeah, you were going to say
Contention
something.
is of the devil. I was going to say
Yes.
contention is of the
Yes.
devil.
It's a
We
literal
are
quote.
taught,
Yeah.
exactly. We are taught that anytime any kind of anything bubbles up to the surface, it's bad.
Yeah.
And I have seen my own just like in past relationships where it's like the minute it surfaced, the other person's like, yeah, this is bad. I don't know what to do with it. It's happening too often and I need to run. I need to run and get away from it. That's a relationship. And a
Yes.
healthy one is one that can stop and sit with it and
Mm-hmm.
try to
Mm-hmm.
understand how to do better.
Very.
To not want to engage in that is to your own detriment in the long run.
Yeah.
And the best relationships, I feel, you can get through an argument and come out better for it. And as
Agreed.
long as it's respectful, of course, I'm not advocating or saying that if it's a toxic or unhealthy relationship, it's when two people honestly come together
Yeah.
wanting what's best for the other person. Those are the relationships that I'm talking about. Those are the
Right.
dynamics that I'm talking about. If
Yes.
there's a power imbalance, if there are elements of abuse, then of course that's not what we're discussing here. But we're just
Yeah.
talking about two humans coming together. It is inevitable that there's going to be friction from time to time, that there's going to
Exactly.
be lack of understanding from time to time.
Exactly.
And it's waking up and saying, yeah, I choose this relationship. So how can I make it work? How
Yeah.
can I make my partner or my friend
Yeah.
or my sibling understand me better?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you think about a lot of churches in my community. Think about a lot of charismatic churches. They depend on a pastor a lot. The
Mm.
pastor or the priest or whoever is deemed as the leader of the church is usually the one that's managing conflict in families. Like you
Hmm.
have pastors traveling around and elders traveling around, going to people's homes,
Yeah.
dealing with trivial drama when perhaps the pastor could probably use his time better to go serve someone who needs it the most. The pastor is
Yeah.
busy trying to resolve a fight between a couple because the husband doesn't touch her very much or something like that. And then the pastor goes in to say, well, he doesn't touch you because you don't cook. And then he's like, well, yeah, I don't cook because he doesn't do this. And then
Right.
petty, it's like, okay, where is the ability to resolve a simple conflict? It's like it doesn't exist. It just,
Well,
yeah, go on.
no, I was just gonna say in the Mormon faith, I don't know how it compares to Seventh-day Adventists. These pastors are not trained,
Boy.
and they are going around
Oh boy.
and they are giving advice to young couples
Oh
and
no.
in these situations, in these family situations, and they have no business
Mm,
giving them any type of counsel. Most of them have lay professions where they're a plumber or a baker or candlestick maker, whatever you want to call it,
mhm.
whatever job it is, they have no business. And I know that I, through the years, have gotten some terrible marital advice, and they have no business giving me that
Yeah.
counsel.
Yeah.
None of it, it's not their place.
It's
So they
not their
don't.
place. They're mostly not skilled, and even if it is their place, they are skilled. You still have the element of bias. It depends on what type of system that
Absolutely.
you're in. If you're in a patriarchal religious system,
Hmm.
obviously it will lean towards the man in a much better light than the woman,
Correct.
right? So
Yeah.
so it's like in all of those things, even if we granted them, you're qualified, you're trained, you're all of these things, you still have to deal with the bias,
Mhm.
especially in a culture like mine, maybe in yours too, where, for example, if a child has a conflict with an adult or someone who's perceived to be older, right,
Yes.
the child is automatically wrong.
Yes.
Doesn't matter what the context is, doesn't matter what the
Yes.
problem is, doesn't matter what happened, the child is wrong, the child is proud, and he should humble himself or she should humble herself and shut
They
up and
need to
keep their
honor the father
honor
and
the
the
father and
mother.
mother. No questions asked, even when the situation has been spelled out to demonstrate that the person who's seen as older is in the wrong. The
Yeah.
child is still made to feel as though they are wrong.
Yes.
It doesn't encourage healthy relationships. It just encourages
Not at all.
compliance. That's all it does. Obedience, compliance, the go along,
Hmm.
get along gang. That's all it is. I am absolutely disinterested in anything that could be remotely in resemblance to a community, a family, a friendship, even a workplace. I would quit that job if that job was anything remotely in resemblance of that kind of behavior. No, big no from me. Absolutely uninterested. Thank you very much. I will stay broke. Thank you. Yeah.
All right, drum roll, number
Drum roll. Drum roll
seven.
number seven. Number
Yep,
seven.
go.
Here we go. We marched around the walls 7 times until the walls of Jericho came down. Here we
There we
go.
go.
Seven. This is realizing that my true values from childhood to adulthood was really honesty and integrity. That's all I
Mm,
was looking for this whole time. I've been looking for consistency. I've been looking for when you don't know something, just say you don't know.
yeah.
That's what I've been looking for that. And I always found myself being attracted to movie characters or cartoon characters that are complex, that are
Mm,
smart, powerful in some way, but then they have their moments where they just admit to say, you know what? I messed up
I
here.
don't know.
Oh, I don't
Yeah.
know. That was always attractive to me. I didn't know
Mm,
then as a kid, but I know why now because those were speaking to my true core values. Nobody gave that to me. I learned them. I chose to pick those values as a kid. I didn't know I was doing it, but I did it, and those were my values. I did it by accident, but it's great that I did it. Every time I sense someone trying to over explain, I just zone out, buy out,
yeah.
and say, I'm sorry, I can't do it. I really can't trust anything that you're saying right now. Like you feel the need for me to agree with you right now. That's kind of troubling to me.
Yeah.
And I did this experiment with one of the stories in the Bible this past week. An example is basically how did Judas die? So I asked that question, how did Judas die to the public, right? And obviously had Christians responding in. And I gave options. In the Gospel of John, you have one recollection of it. And then you have the book of
Hmm.
Acts that has another recollection of it. And in the Gospel
Hmm.
of John, I think if I remember correctly, Judas goes into the temple, throws the 30 pieces of silver that he gained from betraying Jesus into the temple, and then walks away and hangs himself, right?
Mm.
And then in the book of Acts, if I remember correctly, Judas never goes into the temple, and it doesn't even specify how many shekels of silver he receives. He just goes to buy a field, and then when he buys the field with the money, he falls down headlong and he
Mm-hmm.
bursts open. It says
Mm-hmm.
headlong. Whoever wrote the story said he fell headlong. So that means he fell
Mm-hmm.
on his opposite
Head first.
head
Yeah.
first, right? I asked the public, how did Judas die? Did he hang himself or did he go buy a field and then fell off somewhere? And then
Mm-hmm.
people said both. And I was like,
I know.
well,
I
that's
saw that.
interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Please explain to me.
Convenient.
Very convenient.
Yeah.
And I said,
Yeah.
please explain to me how it's both. And to hear people in their right minds, in their cognitive dissonance mode, trying to explain to me why something hanging at its head when you cut down the rope falls down and all of a sudden mechanics and gravity doesn't matter, or all of a sudden none of that matter, and a body falling in motion can just flip to its opposite axis with no force exerted on it,
Mm-hmm.
you can just flip on its opposite axis. And come on, like, you don't have, this is not about God being real, this is not about Jesus being the Messiah, this is not
Mm-hmm.
about any of those, this is just about being honest. To say
Mm-hmm.
something that is falling in motion stays in motion until an external
Mm-hmm.
force exerts on it. We learn this in kindergarten. We learn this. This is basic science. If something falls, it stays until something makes it move. Then it moves. So how
Yeah.
does it become both? Those are completely different stories. And then you have
Mm-hmm.
the secondary contradiction where in the book of John is the elders who buys the field where they
Mm-hmm.
found him hanging and then called it the field of blood. And then you have the book of Acts that's saying that when Judas bought the field, they saw his body split, burst open. Then the elders called it the field of blood because of the blood that was spilled on the field. So, okay, which is it? Did the elders buy the land and name it as the field of blood, or did they find him in a land that he already bought and then name it the field of blood? Which is it? It's clearly contradictory. These are different stories.
Yeah.
Just
Right.
admit it. Just admit
Yeah.
it. Just say,
Yeah.
you know what? I still believe in God. I still believe in the Holy Trinity, but this is contradictory.
Yeah. And
But
there's so many
and there's
contradictory
so many.
stories
That's
and
just one of the
elements.
ones that I just chose to pick, right? An
Yeah,
example.
of
And
course.
it is just the need to let go of your integrity, to let go of your
Yeah.
honesty, and to think, because this is what's happening. They think there is some answer to this other than the obvious.
Yeah.
If I am thinking that this is a contradiction, then I am wrong automatically for no reason. It's like, well, that's not an honest way to think. That's not an honest way to reason. I used to believe that if I ever come to a situation where I thought that the Bible was wrong, I am automatically wrong for thinking that the Bible was wrong. I used to think
Yeah.
that. And it's like,
Absolutely.
yeah. But how do you come to an honest conclusion thinking that way? Like, how do you arrive at any honest conclusion?
I know, I
How?
know. It's the same in Mormonism where
Mm,
you can be inspired,
mm-hmm.
but as long as that inspiration, as long as those promptings or those revelations that come to you fall in line with what the prophet says. So at the end of the day, you just, you're not really given the ability to really truly feel and think
Yeah.
because if it goes contradictory to anything that has been written or said, then you're in the wrong.
Yes,
So,
I'm curious about the universe now. I'm curious about a lot of things. I
yeah,
don't know a lot of things and I'm willing to know. I have no
yeah,
interest in hearing a story and just running with it. I
yeah,
want to understand things. It's possible that this person could have done this crime, but has anyone actually done the work to find out if this person did this crime, or are we just running by hearsay right now? It's just being honest. It's just saying,
yep,
hey, are you running by hearsay? Do you have legitimate information? Like, what's going on
yeah,
here? Those were the things I
mm-hmm,
was working by and running by this whole time. And I'm glad that I kept to those values and I'm going to uphold those values. And anyone that comes my way, that's what I'm going to preach, to say,
mm-hmm,
just be honest. Why are you afraid of being honest right now? Like,
Be integral, have integrity, be true
have,
to
there we
yourself,
go. Be
all of those
true.
things.
Just be
Yeah.
true. Let your yes be
Hmm.
yes, your no be no. If you don't like this, say you don't like it. If you like it, say you
Yeah.
like it. Like, there's no
Yep.
problem. Obviously, except in a situation where your life is in danger, then lie. Lie your head off. Please. Please lie. Okay?
Yeah.
If someone to
Sure.
put a shotgun to my head and say, "Do you believe in
Yeah.
Allah?" I'll be like, "Yeah. Allah is the only one true God. Please sign me up."
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please lie to save your life.
There you
Like,
go.
this is not the holier than thou podcast. All right, this is the two
No,
sinners podcast. Okay.
two sinners. Absolutely. Yes. Children definitely lie, kick, scream, choose violence if you're getting kidnapped.
Yes.
Absolutely do what it takes
Yes.
to get you to the right place. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's funny.
Exactly. So that's
There
those
you
would be the
go.
7 things I've learned living the seven
Thank
day
you,
Adventist
Evans. I
church.
think that
Yeah.
this was really great. And I think a lot of us can really relate because I think almost every single one of those 7 points I have also experienced
Hmm.
in my own realm
Hmm.
leaving Mormonism. So
Very
I
true.
appreciate it. I think that's great.
Very true.
I,
Yeah.
I think I learned a lot too.
Yeah.
So thank
So I hope this resonated with someone. We will see you in another episode with more
Yep.
juicy stuff. We've got thousands of topics. It's actually incredible how many things we have to
Yeah.
talk about.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
and please let us know your story in the comments. Thank you very much, all the
Yeah.
commenters
We
in.
love it when you do that.
Yeah,
We love hearing from you.
yes,
So,
shout out to Iris in the comments. Shout out to Rose in the
yeah.
comments. Thank you very much for
Yes,
commenting.
always.
And yeah, we will do our best to mention. Well, we don't want to make it a thing because sometimes people want to remain anonymous. But we will have no problem just giving you a shout
Yeah.
out if you engage with our videos. So please
Yeah.
feel free to be happy to do that
Like,
and
subscribe,
like, subscribe.
and join our group, and we
Yes,
will see you next time.
we will see you
Have
next
a
time,
great
guys.
week. Bye.
Bye, guys.